Whole CEO with Lisa G. I'm the best-selling author of The Boss Weight Loss. I'm bringing you the top tips to be unstoppable. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to actually pull up a chair with today's top experts in weight loss, mindset, and business. Learn our top tips to set you up for success so that you can have more energy, be fit and resilient, and feel unstoppable. Welcome to Whole CEO with Lisa G. Top leaders share their tips, our hacks so that you can be unstoppable in your mindset, wellness, and business. Brian is with me today, the founder and president of Esposito Intellectual Enterprises, ultimately a holding company for over 20 years of work, business startups, investments stemming from manufacturing, distribution, retail, hospitality, hotel development, restaurant, commercial real estate, liquor, technology. Wow, you are all over the place, Brian. I know that you started at a really young age, at like 20. Is that right?
18, yeah. So
18,
just
wow.
About 20 years ago. Yeah.
Welcome. Well, I wanted to talk to you in particular because I want to hear about your story, how you started so young and what you've learned along the way.
Absolutely. So thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure and honor to be on your podcast. So yeah, I started in the beauty industry. Again, just about 20 years ago in the late 90s, I built the first B2B and B2C e-commerce platform for beauty. So I built a mousetrap to bring people to me, whether they were professionals or end consumers. I built this because I was driving around New Jersey and New York and trying to hit every salon and spa was just impossible. As you mentioned, you have a sister in the area and traffic and
I know it well.
It's just a mess. So I said, there's got to be a better way. So I initially went out to find, at the time, firms and companies that would build what I wanted to build, and it was very expensive. So like everything I go after, I say, I'll just do it myself. So I taught myself how to code. And again, I built this platform. We had great access to brands. We were disrupting an entire industry with a new sales channel, which was online and e-commerce.
So you started online 20 years ago?
Yeah, well, we had stores. We had a beauty distribution center, and again, salespeople calling on salons and spas. But I didn't like the model of it wasn't scalable. So that's when internet was starting to really hit its stride as far as a place people were going to.
Right.
And then yeah, I built the first one in the beauty space, where it was not easy because we were upsetting retailers, we were upsetting brands, even our own brand partners were upset with us because they didn't know what we were doing.
Right.
And, now they all want to be online, and even we were one of Amazon's first beauty retailers. We were Jet.com's first retailer online.
Congratulations.
And thank you. Yeah, always thinking forward. I'm always thinking what the market's going to need or where it's going, and not trying to get in too late, but just trying to be there in its infancy and be part of whatever that ride is. But it was not easy. And every industry that I'm involved with now, there's always challenges and issues and circumstances. That's why your mental health and your wellness is so important, where you can go after and tackle those things with a clear mind, some calmness about you, really analyze what's going on and make sure you make the right decisions, and most importantly, make sure you're working with the right people.
I love that you mentioned wellness, and that's what I'm all about. Is now more than ever, I think people really need to worry about their health and wellness, mental health in particular. And along the way, can you share some of your biggest failures and what you learned from them?
Yeah, well, we're going to need more than 20 minutes, so I can I'll pick a couple. One of my biggest the thing I did wrong for 15 years was that I was always helping brands or companies grow, and I wasn't part of their upside. I did it because we had maybe a business relationship and it was in a certain lane. And I never properly attached myself or my companies to that arrangement. So I was just left in the wind. If I were to connect somebody in the business world where I knew they would do great work together, I always anticipated they would make sure that I was properly, recognized for that, and that I was involved.
Right.
But 9 out of 10 times it does not happen. So, connectors that are listening to your show know that they're always left in the wind because they don't know how to properly put themselves in the equation. So over
Do
the
you get
last
the
5,
owner? You mean rather you should have been an owner of the company?
exactly, or involved in some capacity, just even outside of contractually, because it's important that everybody knows what everybody's role is and that we're putting something together for all of us to benefit,
Right.
not just for one or two people, but the entire party. Like every time I put a deal together or I was in a room putting a deal together, I go in there with a win-win idea of creating value and creating opportunities and de-risking everybody's time and de-risking any capital to ensure that there is a real business here and there's a real way to make money and everybody can benefit from it.
Okay, so in hindsight, which is always 2020, I saw that you posted on LinkedIn, which is where we met. I love LinkedIn
Yeah.
about time being one of our most precious commodities. And I feel like events lately have really brought that to everybody's top of mind. And what did you mean when you said that?
Yeah, well, I've been through more situations and experiences than the average bear, as I say. So I know more than anybody how precious time is, and that we're really only here for a little bit amount of time, and nobody knows when that expiration date is. But even if you live a long, full life, it's still a short amount of time when you look at it. As far as how long life has been on this planet. So it's not much time.
Right,
So with that being said, it's important that you dedicate your time, your energy, and your passions towards things that you love. And it's always disheartening to see incredible people. We all know them that always say, "I hate what I do. I hate my job. Oh, I got to get up and do this." And I get it. You're doing that because you're caught in this trap where you have bills and you have a mortgage or you have a family. So it's hard to get off that hamster wheel. But
right.
people need to realize that, now more than ever, you got to do what you love. You got to wake up in the morning and be happy and go fight.
Passionate, right? You got to be
Exactly,
passionate about stuff.
exactly. So it's always so sad to see that happening to people that are smart, that are just maybe a little bit scared to go after their dreams, or they don't have the right support system or the right resources.
Right.
So that's why I really love what I'm doing now is I get to work with startups, even up to Fortune 500 companies, and creating value, creating opportunities, helping people succeed, and then taking all of my learning experiences and all the mistakes that I made to help these companies navigate through the waters and be able to build a sustainable, successful business.
I love that. Well, what advice would you have for people that feel stuck and they want to be unstoppable in passion? Like, let's say that they're just working to earn money. And since time, we don't know how much time is guaranteed, especially lately. What kind of advice would you have for those kind of people to get unstuck?
Yeah, I think they should start putting together a plan. It's hard to give generic advice because I don't know what people's obligations or responsibilities are. So typically they can't just leave their job and start
Right,
tomorrow. So I think in general, I think it's great if they find a way to end that chapter of their life and start working on, what do they feel their purpose is, what do they love to do, and
right,
be in that world. Like if you love the music industry, find a way to get into the music industry while you're still going through your regular routine. Or if you love to paint, start painting. If you love a sport, go look for a sport or some sort of a hobby type of team you can join. It whatever it is, you need to be doing it. And I was a hypocrite for a long time because I was in that rat race like the rest of us.
right.
But now I definitely love what I'm doing. It's rewarding, and my past is starting to make sense of why I feel like I'm here, and I think I'm doing what I'm here to do. But well, yeah, with that being said, you got to find a way to find something you love and do it. Get some self worth and feel good about yourself, and then you start to see your whole life changes. Like Jim Carrey with Yes Man, it's a funny movie, but if you saw just that moment where he decided to change something and say yes to everything, and his whole world changed. Now it's not that obvious or that instant, but you start to really see some great things happening, and your whole psyche changes. Everything around you starts to change, and I think light attracts light, and I'm a big believer in energy and always putting positive energy out there.
Well, thanks, Brian. Those are like such great knowledge bombs right there because I love the way that you point out that you don't have to give up your regular hustle to start a side hustle. and that everything happens for a reason. Do you believe that?
Oh, 100%. And you don't know it when you're in the tornado and you're in the storm. But when you look back, you start to realize, oh, that's why I met that person. Oh, that's why I was on that plane at that time and my other plane got delayed. Everything happens for a reason. Whether you rationalize and justify it, that's irrelevant. I do believe in fate and destiny, but I also like to believe that we do have a say in our world, and the decisions that we make are solely ours. And ultimately, you end up where you're supposed to be.
So that life is happening for us, not to us. In other words, too, I love taking personal responsibility for stuff. And I love the way that you mentioned that everything happens for a reason because you learn certain things along the journey. Maybe something worked out, didn't work out. Maybe something terrible happened. Isn't there a lesson in anything that's ever happened, good or bad?
Absolutely. I mean, some of the most in the moment terrible things that I was completely disappointed about, 9 out of 10 of them, I look back and say, "Thank God that didn't happen," or "Thank God I didn't work with that person," or "I'm so glad that that worked out that way because now I'm doing this." It's really, we're all wired different, and to each their own. I won't judge anybody, but it's really how you look at that and how you can be okay with the terms of the outcome. A lot of people look at things and they can go in the corner and cry and be upset and just have a pity party. Other people look at that as an opportunity to say, well, there's a reason for that, and I'm glad that that happened that way, and then they continue on their journey.
Oh, I love your spiritual view on things and how there's a three solutions for every problem, probably, if you're not stuck in that why did this happen to me kind of feeling. And since you have so much business success, so much experience, is there any last bit of tips or hacks about being unstoppable that you want to leave our audience with?
Yeah, just don't worry about the setbacks, because every time you go through a setback or a challenge, it's all part of forming you to become a better whatever you're out there being. I often compare professional athletes to business people or entrepreneurs. The training, the practice, the successes, the losses, all of that is all part of the story. So the more times you get beaten down and get back up, the stronger you get. The more times you get beaten down and get back up, the smarter you get. And if you don't go through those experiences, you're not going to be well equipped to run a successful company. You're not going to know what to do when problems face you because you don't know how to handle problems. So my world, I've just been prone to problems. It's just the way my deck was dealt. But a lot of people don't know how to handle a problem, and it's sad. And that's why when this COVID came, nobody anticipated it being this long or this catastrophic. But to me, it was business as usual. So this is a problem. We'll figure it out. We'll pivot. We'll make new products. We'll make new technologies. We'll create value, because you know what? There's gonna be another problem. So you better get used to it. There'll be a COVID-20, COVID-21. There'll be more political unrest. There'll be other things that you can't control. And that would lead me into, I guess, what I really try to preach to people, especially now, that even want to listen to me, is stop focusing on things you can't control. It drive you
Love
crazy.
that. I love that. It's
Yeah,
like a control thing. It's crazy because we can't control very much, can we?
not in reality, but you can control your world. You can control who you allow in it, who you allow out of it, what you want to do with your time.
How you
Just
respond to things.
exactly. Things that are out of your control, everybody just gets very consumed. And I shouldn't say everybody, but a lot of people get very consumed about it. They feel doom and gloom, and it's the end of the world. And whatever is going to happen is going to happen. The most important thing is, how are you going to survive during all that? And what are you going to do to make sure that you ensure the success of your own well-being, but also the success of whatever business you may be involved in?
Well, I love your attitude about everything happening for a reason and bringing it full circle to what can you learn from that experience? How can you get back up? And I think sometimes people are a little bit short sighted. At least I know I was in business when I first started trying to move into the online space of the actual time that it takes to build a business.
Oh yeah.
Isn't patience important too?
So important. And everybody wants that overnight immediate success. It doesn't work that way. And if it did work that way, as quick as it came, it'll disappear just as quickly. It's you got to work it. Things don't just happen overnight. We met, and we're doing this, I think, fantastic conversation right now because of every decision we made before we met. If you think about that, every action you made, every decision, every moment, every experience led you to where you are today. And one other decision, you and I aren't talking today. And I love thinking about things like that. And then I love thinking about that in anticipation of what's going to happen tomorrow.
I love it. Yeah. I love being open and saying yes to the things the way that you mentioned Jim Carrey did. Because when you say no to stuff, you just never know what opportunities are there in front of you. So hang in there, you guys. Be patient. Overnight success doesn't exist, correct?
Does not exist. An article I have on LinkedIn was my own therapeutic article, but it really resonated with a lot of people. Is like the 7,000th X amount of night of my overnight success was the title of the article. And it was the day I started writing it was 7,300 something days into the journey I'm on. Now the article is 2 years old now, so I got to add another 700 days, but it is not an overnight success. Nothing is, but every night you can wake up a little bit smarter the next day, and that is an overnight success. Be a little bit better of a person than you were the day before, and be a little bit smarter than you were the day before.
Well, Brian Esposito, you are a wealth of knowledge and encouragement for our audience. Where can people find you?
You can find me on LinkedIn and Twitter, Brian J. Esposito, and my corporate site's eie.rocks, so eie.rocks. I get back to everybody. I try to always respect everybody's time. When someone sits behind a screen and messages me, I take a lot of respect in that, because that takes a strong person to reach out to somebody. So I do get back to everybody, and that's it. That's how you can get a hold of me.
Well, thanks for showing up with integrity that way. It really matters.
Oh, thank you. You're doing great work, and I can't wait to see what you and I are going to do together.
Awesome. Thanks, Brian. Thanks for coming to Whole CEO with Lisa G.